let's talk about Malaysia again today. Let's talk about the differences that I perceive as a foreigner observing what's going on in Malaysia, how the economy in Malaysia flows. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Having lived in Malaysia for 3 years, I observed that Malaysia has a very interesting economy. That there are three classes of people here. There are the Malays, the Chinese, and the Indians. These three are the predominant ethnicities here in Malaysia. Throughout history, the Chinese have always been the merchant class, right? They're business owners, they're traders, and they're manufacturers and so forth. And the Malay role has changed from one of indigenous landed country people to now slowly, after the expulsion of British control, city dwellers slowly become urbanized. And Indians has always been the labor force, the labor force, low-end labor force, as well as the doctors and lawyers, service sector employees of Malaysia. So what I see the wealth transfer here in Malaysia is that the government really trying to help out Malays, right? Because in this sense, they feel the Malays are disadvantaged. I don't know why, but they feel that Malays needs extra help. So it has favorable policies such as low loans, cheap loans, financial helps. What else we got? Incentives to open businesses. What else we got? Along that line, right? Of course, all the political office and so forth, the juicy ones, easy ones tend to go to Malay. Not all of them, but majority of them, right? What the Chinese get the right to do business unmolested. And, I cannot say that the Malaysian government treat Chinese badly because, the Chinese cannot hold very powerful governmental offices other than maybe finance, accounting, but in general, Chinese are left to do business unmolested, whatever it is. And Indians, they usually are the service sector, right? The knowledge service sector as well as the unknowledge members, so social sector. So how does wealth work, economy works here is that the money from the natural resources such as petroleum, palm oil, mining, land, wood, farming, timber, they are controlled by most governmental cronies, Malays, or landed Malays, right? And then from there, these Malays would spend their wealth on buying services and products provided by the Chinese. So the wealth come from the natural resource, first then through the Malays' hands, through the various government programs, incentives, favoritism, but eventually they all make their way back to the hands of Chinese, and to a smaller degree, the Indians. And what happened to that wealth once it landed in Chinese and Indian hand is that because the Chinese and the Indians they feel they're unfavored, discriminated, and they don't trust that the government give them a fair shake. They all to certain degrees, buy insurance policy. How they buy the insurance policy is put some of their wealth outside, send their children abroad to study, move their children abroad eventually, such as UK, Australia, US, so forth. And there's this exodus of Malaysian wealth abroad simply because the government policy of unfavoring, I wouldn't say discriminating, but unfavoring the Chinese and Indians. And as a foreigner, I feel very sad about the situation because, Malaysia, one, is losing a lot of wealth because of its current policy. By favoring the Malays, the Chinese and the minority doesn't feel safe here. So they, of course, they have to buy insurance if they don't feel safe, right? By taking a portion of their wealth abroad for safekeeping. Partly, and the second part is, I feel sorry, is for the Malay people. By doing this, actually, it's holding Malay people back because, in a way, a segment of Malay population is being babied. And because they're babied, they never get to grow up. They never get to compete. They never get to gain the skills they need to compete on a level ground. And because of that, they always need to be sheltered. So the more they are provided for, the more they need to be provided for. And it's a terrible cycle that holds the Malay people back. And ultimately, it makes Malay people dependent more and more on the government. The government likes that because through its policies, it keeps selling the race card. So the more Malay people feel like they need to depend on the government, the more the Malay people vote for a Malay government. And so the people in power become more and more in power. You see, so in a way, this government is really hurting the country by dividing people and making its own people, the Malay people, dependent on the government more and more, so that it gives power more and more to the government. And the government is smart enough to keep the Chinese and the Indians, relatively unmolested, make money, because it still needs Chinese and Indian to run the economy to a large degree. But the Chinese and Indian, because it feels that it's unfavored, is a second-class citizen, that is taking its wealth out of the country. Hence, the questions, why isn't Malaysia like Singapore? Because in every aspect, in every way, Malaysia has the same resource, if not more than Singapore. It has the same ethnic diversity, ethnic makeup. It has way more resource than Singapore. But these weird, strange policies, a lot of it is based on democracy, right? Because Singapore is not really a democratic country. Let's face it. It's ruled by a family and supporters. But Malay is democratic, so it needs to play these political race game in order to stay in power, and that's how they approach it, by helping the Malay people, so they can, because Malay is the majority, to keep these people on top in power instead of sharing power. So I hope the people who watch this, I'm sure some people are Malay, some people are Chinese, some people are Indian, can let me know what you think about my view on the situation. I'm a foreigner, so I could be wrong. I could be, skewed and seeing this with a wrong eyes. So tell me, what am I wrong? And if I am wrong, what is actually happening here in Malaysia? All right. Thank you very much for watching Real Talks, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye. Did you enjoy that video? If so, remember to subscribe to our channel so that YouTube will inform you when I do another video. Bye-bye.